Trading the foreign exchange market carries high risk and may not be suitable for all investors. Trading on margin, utilizing leverage can carry an even higher level of risk that can lead to a complete loss of investment funds. So before deciding to trade the foreign exchange market or using any of our software alert products, you should carefully and diligently consider your personal investment objectives, level of experience, and risk tolerance. There is a possibility that you could potentially sustain significant loss. You should not invest any capital or trade that you cannot afford to lose. It is your responsibility to be aware of and understand all risks associated with foreign exchange trading and to seek professional advice from an independent certified financial advisor if you have any doubts. Auvoria Prime does not exercise trading authority over your trades. You and you alone exercise discretionary trading authority over every trade.
Looks like at 9 o'clock we have a Fed Chair Powell speaks set on the U.S. dollar, so be aware of that. That's the only thing I'm seeing today on the U.S. dollar. Let's check the FX book and see if that has any other information for us. Yeah, Fed Chairman speaks. Home sales, that's not a huge one to me. Tuesday, we have some British news on Tuesday. That's going to be around 7 o'clock in the morning. And British news on, let's see, that's Tuesday as well. Later on the day, 11:50. We'll check this again on Tuesday to make sure we get updated on some of this stuff. Right now, today, we're only looking at about 9 o'clock. We have a little bit of something going on there at 9 o'clock. I don't like going too far down the list. And let's see what kind of alerts we have. Let me switch over to that screen. And it looks like we have a British yen. Move this out of the way here a little bit. Oh, British yen. Let's see what we have on that one. Looks like we have a buy up arrow. It's coming through the end of this zone right here. Could be a positive to get a little bounce off of this. Let's see where we're at with the British. See how strong that is relative to the other currencies. See which one is winning and losing the race here. Right now, the Swiss seems to be kind of the strongest pair. The dollar is the weakest pair, and the yen and the British are kind of fighting neck and neck. I would certainly wait for this thing to break. Once this area breaks, we might have a little bit of a trade there, possibly. Here's where the alert was. This would be the target I would be looking for, but I want to see it break after it gets to the other side of this. So that's what we didn't get until over here. And the question is, do we have 20 pips to the next zone? If the British pound can continue with that, we have a dollar news announcement, so it's not the British until Tuesday. Check this out here. See what measure this out here. See if there's 34 pips. I say once this gets through this red zone here, we may have a possibility of getting the trades coming right up to the 200 moving average. I would back this thing off a little bit before it, so that it has room to this has room to come down a little bit before it breaks to the top of this, and then, but this could be a possible trade. Right now, it's still somewhat sideways in a range. I would be careful with that. We do have a little bit of a gap over here from Friday's close to Sunday. This big gap. And it's right now it's kind of coming up to fill the gap, but once it fills the gap, it may want to reverse back again. So keep aware of this gap right in here. Let's see, let's go to the U.S. Swiss. I do know we have an announcement. The Swiss is the strongest currency of the pair. U.S. Swiss. Where did my U.S. Swiss go? There it is. Pretty much the same type of thing. It was U.S. Swiss. This was a little while ago, a couple hours ago, actually. There's a sell. Here's a sell right in here. Let me get my objects in here. And then we have a target somewhere around 92.53. And so pretty much already at the target on that one. So we'll pass on that. It is showing that the Swiss is a stronger of currency. Let's take the US. Let's do the S&P 500. We'll do that one. And this one was that was a little while ago too. Here is the entry. Oops, wrong one. There's the entry. Here would be the target. We're already pretty much out of the chute, and I would be careful about jumping in at this point in time. You're already halfway to your target, and the target in this case is from the entry to the target would be. It looks like that's about $10, I believe. Let's see, 16 to 26. Yep, that's a $10. We're already to the target. Usually we go for $5 target. We're already there. If you got in at that on the alert, you already take your profit. There is some room to the upside. I don't know how much. We have this lot of wicks over here. Draw, move down, based, moved down, came back up, retested, came back up. Now it's retesting into these wicks over here. So you've got some sellers coming in anywhere from, I'd be looking at this area right in here as being a real area where I'd be looking, trying to get out of my trade before, if you are in this thing, if you're not already out by now, which is your $5 target, I would be getting out before we get to that zone right here. Because you're probably going to end up having a little bit of a battle in this little area where all the sellers came in to drive this thing down. This is the origin of this strong move down. And that was from Friday night, gap down Sunday. Here's Friday's close, gap down. This is Sunday's open. Had a lot of activity last night over the night. And that's about all we have on the horizon for right now. If we take a look at the Euro New Zealand. And that's just gone sideways. There's no trade there. And that's about all we have for right now. Any questions? And so if you put your questions in the question answer, that would be more apt to see them there. We may catch them in the chat box, but it's not our first place to look.
Yeah, all's quiet right now.
It's pretty quiet. It's Monday morning. Don't be in a big hurry to be taking trades on Mondays or Fridays. Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays seem to be your better days for getting those trades coming in. And that's about all I have to say about that. If you see a good trade set up, don't be afraid to take it, but don't try and force something if it's not a really good trade. Just let it ride. There's lots of trades coming down the track. And as that will go, and we'll maybe just look through some of our lists here. And here is a trade alert. Again, it's pretty much, that one was at, let's see, what time was that? I have a question. If anybody's in Europe, have you had daylight savings time yet? Did it happen this weekend or is that next weekend?
I think that's next weekend. But
yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Sorry, everybody's still 2 hours early this week. This is at 14, so this would have been at 1400, so that'd been about
next weekend.
7 o'clock, is it? It'll be.
Herman is saying next weekend is daylight savings time.
Next weekend. Okay, thank you, Herman. Thank you for that updated information. And let's see here. Let's just make sure we have our times right. Right now, we're working on the. Let's see. Basically, it's 7:40 my time, East Coast time. This is showing 14:40 6:40-ish. So right now, my chart time is 7 hours ahead of my local time. So if this alert happened at 7 o'clock, so this happened just 30 minutes. This happened at 7 o'clock. Where this alert was, that was 45 minutes ago. And let's just see let's see if there would have been enough time here to. 17 pips. It would have been close. You could have got maybe backed it off to maybe 10 pips. You got 10 pips out of that one. Pretty nice. That would have been a reasonable trade, but that one's already past the prime. US CAD. We have a nice little bounce. See if we get an arrow coming up. We are looks like we're in a downtrend. Let's double check that. Yep, we are in a downtrend. Get my arrows in here. And we'll just start going through the charts. Let's start looking to see what might be coming up.
I don't know about you, Al, but last night my alert would not stop binging. It just kept going and going. We got all kinds of them last night.
I always get, usually I silence it at nighttime when I go to bed, so I don't know what was going on at nighttime, during the nighttime. Move this one over here. Move this over to there. And we have our overnight sessions. There was a lot of gapping going on last night. Actually, I saw my gearbox was actually a little healthier this morning from the overnight. And let's see here. We had the overnight sessions. We had a breakout from the top. I don't know if we would have had 20 pips on that or not. We had a breakout pretty much on the opening candle of the money zone. You would have been a little bit short on. You had a red zone right up in here. That would have probably squashed your 20 pips, but you could have gotten maybe 10 out of that one. Let's see, we are in a downtrend. Yep, we are in a downtrend. There's our target down here.
Was there an alert for that one, Al, or did
No,
you?
I'm just going through the charts.
Okay.
Since we don't have any more alerts to look at, I'm just going to go give a little bit of a scan through all the different pairs and see if there's anything that could be developing here for us. We are in a downtrend. I don't know if we probably wouldn't have, if we have anything, if we got an alert now, would we have room? Yeah, we would have room. So we can maybe, now we'll keep an eye on the Swiss pairs. The Swiss right now is the strongest currency. Let's take a look at the Swiss yen. That might be a good one to take a look at. Swiss yen right here. Yep, that was already up at the zone, so that's not going to work. How about the Swiss USD? Or USD Swiss? That one's already down there. You can see where the Swiss has really gained a lot of strength overnight, coming into this zone here. Now, if it can break through this, that would have the target there. I think we already looked at that one. If it can break through this zone, if the Swiss can still maintain its strength, this would be the next stop on, this would be the next target area. I'd want to see it get through this zone. And let's take a look at this one under the microscope here. That's US Swiss. Here's some other charts up here.
I do have a question for you in the Q&A, Al.
Okay.
Gold bounced up with arrow. Do you think it will reverse off the next zone and continue down? Although there's no time frame. Are you thinking the 5-minute mark? I'm asking Mark if it's the 5-minute chart he's looking at. We need to know all the specifics, please. to make it easier.
I would say this: it will bounce and do all that you said, but you have to find out which time frame it's going to do.
Yeah,
It will do it.
5 minutes.
It will go. It will go up on one time frame. It'll go down on another time frame. It'll go sideways on another time frame. So
Now the 5-minute chart, he's saying.
5 minute.
Yeah.
Well, let's see. Let's take a look at gold here. Let me move my chart over here. See if we can. Everybody see my chart?
Yep.
Okay, here's gold. And let's see here. Let's just clean this up a little bit. Here's gold on a daily. Let me start off with that. What's gold going to do? That's always a good question. From a daily perspective, this was all the way back in February. It started to move down in February, had a nice little move down, pulled back from this little origin. You take it from this origin, bounced. There's a trend line coming on right down in through here. So looking at a trend line that started way back in, this would be, let me see where, pull that down there. This is back in January. So it's been in a 3-month decline, hitting right around the 1700. Sounds like found some support right there around 1700, 1675 to 1700. So this is our, let's see up here. This was 1900. This is pretty much where it left the, nice. This was all last summer. So it came back. It sort of found some stability right here around the 1900 mark. And before then, it probably found some stability down here. So right now, looking way back here in June of last year, this is really the range that we're in now within the last year is all the way down here to all the way up in here. So do I think gold has the possibility to go back up to here? Sure it does. They're still talking that $3,000 an ounce for gold, but that's not going to happen tomorrow. And you're pretty much down here at your June of last year lows, which is almost a year away. So this is the last year's range. Now, the question is, what's it going to do? You could take it from, I'd be looking at, so this is why I say you have to be kind of somewhat aware of what time frame you're looking at. You can see that this pivot right here is about the same as right here, which is a significant pivot point. So from here to here, it's going to have to get through. This is going to be the next area on the list before it to the upside. I say this is going to be, you're going to get a significant bounce off of this area, which is right around the 1950 area, which is kind of where it found its little happy spot after the all-time high last June. Do I think it's going to go down lower? I don't know that it has much reason to go much lower, but it could from.
I think it'll bounce up.
Yeah, I'm thinking it's more likely to find a spot between. If I were a guessing person, I'd be looking at the fib range between here and here. And right now we're in the lower 25%. I could see it coming back up maybe to 38. If it comes up to about 38%, then we could, and then turn around, it could be going lower. If it goes up to the 50%, it may be sitting here, basing in here for quite a while. So I'd say from to the upside, the next target to be looking at would be about the 1780 mark. I'd be careful. I'd be looking at somewhere around this zone right in here of a next area where you're going to have some activity or sideways motion or something. I always view this as being the next target area, right in this, definitely between here and here. The 38 and 62% retracement. I was expect there might be a bounce coming off of this moving average. So I would think probably 1790 is going to probably reach out. It could very well re-challenge the 1800. Would I be a buyer right now? Not really. I'd just hold right now because this thing could still go lower. If you look from a Fibonacci retracement standpoint, if it does break the bottom of this, I'll be looking at, then I would be looking at probably this area right in here, from here to here, retraces back up to the 38%, which is up right here. And then this is going to be your target to the downside. If it breaks this white line on the bottom, I'd be looking at this as being the next target zone to the downside. Right about in, let's see, where's the, yeah, probably right about in this area right in here. That would be my long-term analysis on gold. So if you're looking for a smaller time frame, you still have to kind of respect those areas that I just drew out. But you can see right now, I'd just say the way I'm looking at right now, it's just going sideways in a 15-minute zone within the couple days range. It's just ranging pretty much in between here and I'll say between here and it had a nice little, it breached this one. And I probably put the trend line from here to here. And then another trend line from, this is on a 15-minute chart from here. And if it breaks out of this range, if it breaks out of this wedge, it'd probably be looking at this target up here. And this would be your put this on pretty much of your supply zone. And down here, wherever it happens to break along in this area. Somewhere like this. This would be your demand. That'd be about the best way I could analyze this thing. Hopefully that answers your question. And
Yeah,
let's move on to the US Swiss. US Swiss is still in a downtrend. Let's see where we at with that chart here we had. It is breaking through the bottom of this. So right now it did break through, has room to the downside. Let's see where our target would be. Looks like the next target's going to be strong move up, pulled back, retraced. Here's our zone. I think it's going to have a little problem getting through this area right in here. So I'll mark this as demand. You can see the better part of the move is already pretty much past us. So right now, like the Monday mornings, the institutions are just kind of getting themselves set up. They're taking their positions for the week. They're not in and out like we are. They tend to hold on to the positions. They find a zone, and then they can stick with that. But right now, this is on a 15-minute chart. And did break through. There was a little zone right here that it was looking at to break through. Broke through that right here. And now it's pretty much halfway through to the target area, which would be right here. And that's 18 pips from the top of the zone. So right now you're pretty much halfway. That's 16 pips between the bottom to the top of the zone. It's 16 pips. You're already halfway there. So you might get, it may get down there. It may not. It's hard to say. I won't chase it now.
Al?
Yes.
I have a request for you.
Okay.
You do a brief analysis of the CAD Swiss for those of us who are stuck in large drawdown and other software.
CAD Swiss. Okay. And we're we're negative on the drawdown. The drawdown is going in what direction? It's going short against you, and you have buy positions on. Is that the case? Yeah, just give me a yes or no on that one. That'd be my guess is what's happening there to you. Let's look at.
Judson says.
Yeah. Okay. Let's take a look at this. In just a second.
I think there's a few of them that are drawdown in gearbox on this pair.
There's quite a few people that have the CAD pairs open it's sort of giving them a little bit of anxiety, I guess you could say. Right now, I'm looking at it somewhat on this side. Well, let's see here. This one, I think that gearbox started with drawdown probably back right around. Let's see where am I at with my gearbox? Let's take a look at that. Let's see here. I don't think I have this one open on my gearbox. Yeah, I do too. CAD Swiss where it sells on this one. Okay. So actually it's starting to recover a little bit actually. So we had sales pretty much starting all the way over here. We were selling. It reached the apex and now it's starting to, right now it's been in this zone. Yeah, I'm going to draw down on this one as well. So this is a range it's been in now. It's been kind of in this range since last week. So basically this was what we were dealing with all last week. Now it did have a nice little drop overnight, so that's helping a little bit. If it can break through the bottom, I would say it's going to be coming down into the 73.82 area. I'm looking at this a little bit. Let's see, let me pull this out here a little bit. Here's a high, here's a slightly lower high. Kind of like this one right there. If it can break through this area right here of the 74.05, then I say it's going to be looking at heading down to the 73.82 area. That's the next launch of the strength. What I'm liking a little bit here is we have a nice little trend line going. Here was the high. Here's a little bit lower high, but here's where it really dropped down. So from here to here, that's a good spot there. Whoops. And so that's going to be at the you keep an eye on the alerts, right, Eva?
Yes, we actually did just get one, an Aussie CAD.
Okay, let's take a look at that real quick, and then we'll continue on with this exercise. Aussie CAD. Aussie CAD. Where's my Aussie CAD?
Oh, that's the gearbox that we're looking at, Al.
Oh, that's why.
Thank you. Why you're helping.
That would. I think I pulled that one off of the chart first, so it doesn't take any more.
Myself.
Aussie CAD. Let's see, put this one down here.
There you are, down at there.
Right here. There we are. Aussie CAD. Ooh, let's see. Okay, there's this might have it. You might actually have a trade. Well, let's see. It's in a downtrend. Too many more red zones and green zones, so it is in a downtrend. So I'm going to do that. Put that in there. We did let's spread this out a little bit. If we take this, it would be contra trend. I don't like this 200 moving average sitting right here. It would have to get through that. We'd certainly have room to the upside. We have a bounce. We have an arrow. The only thing that's stopping the go on this one is it's in the downtrend. It would be a contra trend trade. If we're at 8 o'clock, we could take a contra trend trade. So we're in the contra trend zone. I do think you're going to probably get a bounce off of this moving average right in here. And with that, I would be hesitant to take it for a whole, I certainly wouldn't take it for 20 pips. you only have 7 pips to where you're possibly going to get a bounce. And let's see here, Aussie CAD. And if I look at my Aussie CAD, if you look at my heat map here, you'll see that the Aussie is right in the middle. It's in the middle, just barely outside the middle, going the upside in the middle. CAD's in the middle. See, they're right neck and neck, close together in most cases. So I like to see a little bit more of a spread to have a little bit more conclusion that one's going to overtake the other one. So on that, for that note alone, I'm going to pass on this. But that's one reason I would pass on it. Second reason is it's too close to the 200 moving average. That's still pointing down, kind of going flat. Now we are getting a little bit of a hook on the arrow moving average, but right now I'd be looking at this as being a basing area. Pretty much looking at it's going to be hanging out in between. I would be looking at between these two moving averages. I'd be looking at this is the zone is pretty much trading in. I would be more apt to see a way for it to get up in this area and then maybe try and maybe take it to the downside to continue this downtrend. It did break through this trend line here that we had drawn earlier from last week. It did break that. You see it kind of, you see how this thing works? We had our trend line. This was our hit. It broke it, came back up, retested the trend line, and then came back down. So there's a good chance it may come up and try and retest this trend line again. But I'd say that trend line is pretty much done. And then I would be looking at a trend line from this area. We did get a little bit of a break. Here's the anchor. Here's a hit. Here's a near hit. Here's a hit. Came up, tested, broke out a little bit of a trap, came back down. It does have some momentum to the upside, but I would, again, there's not enough room to really take the trade. To get your spreads out of there, I'd pass on that one. Euro New Zealand, let's see if we have anything with that one. No, nothing on that. So that's about what we have in the store for us right now.
Go back to the CAD Swiss.
Yeah, let's go back to the CAD Swiss.
It looked like the Swiss was getting pretty strong.
The Swiss is still the strongest currency overall. So we are looking at strength to the downside, which is a good thing for our trade with the gearbox. You have
and variable.
And variable. Variable is doing the same thing. Yeah, variables by, well, they're all contra-trend trading devices, so it would make sense that they would all be struggling a little bit. Here's the order. I'd say right now there's a little bit of a range right in here, where you see where it came strong up, came back down, tested this area, strong up, came back down, tested the area, up, back down. So we've had like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, the good news is it's getting deeper in here. So if it can break through the bottom of this, I say we'd be looking at probably this for a target. A potential target for the day would be right in here. That'd be right around the 73.81 area. I'm not sure how many would be able to get. If with the gear, one thing about with the gearbox, if you were taking trades all the way up here, and you got your, this is something I think people need to understand, realize that you're taking larger positions as is going against you. But once you get up here with the largest position, you have the least amount of pullback in order to get profitable again. Now, I'm not sure where everybody's break-even point is, but the closer you can get to that last trade at the upper part, the better off, the sooner you're going to be able to get out of your trades profitably. Now, if your gearbox went into your 25% protection way down here, and it keeps on going up, it's protecting you from any more drawdown, but it's also protecting you, is not allowing you to take that higher lot size trade up here at the top before it breaks down, which means if, let's say, your last trade that you took was right here, it's going to have to go all the way up here, come all the way down just to get this last trade to be break even. And it's going to have to go lower to get those other trades that you had along the way. So it really depends on how much heat you allowed it to take, and how much when that last trade was taken before it's going to be able to get you overall profitable. But I would say probably most people got in somewhere right around in this move. They started buying. You're probably 4 or 5 levels deep, and a lot
Buying
of
or
us.
selling, Al? They're probably
But
selling, no?
well, they were exactly, yeah. Thank you, Eva. Yeah, they were selling, 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 selling. But now this is where all your drawdown is. But the good news is that between these different lines, let's just use this hypothetically. Let's say you got your first position here, and you got your next position here, and let's say that's no, let's just use 20 pips, 59. Let's just do it easy math. Let's make it 60. So then you go 60 pips away. 60. The next one's going to be at 80. Your next one's going to be a little bit, if you use that profit factor, that the next one might be at 85. So 85 be 05, 74, 05. The next one, so you got a little bit more room there. The next trade is going to be taken at, say, 30, or see 25, let's say 30 pips away. So that'd be at 05 at 35. So you see how it's starting to widen a little bit, but each time it widens, it takes a larger lot size. So if you can get it to where that last trade that you take, so you have a high lot size here, a higher lot size here, and let's say you do one more, and you're able to catch it right up here before it turns around. This one's going to be your biggest lot size, which could be more profitable. So by the time this one gets down here, and this one gets, so now you've got your last 2 trades are going to be profitable, and by that time you may only need a drawdown, have it come down into this level to be overall break even. But just remember, it's going a little bit further each time. It's taking a little further, and then take a little bigger lot size. A little bit further, taking a bigger lot size. But as I said, if you stop it here, that means you just got to get all this area. It's going against you, but you're not adding more positions, so you're not adding to your drawdown. But your drawdown is going to continue because you got all these trades that are still in play.
Actually, I think the majority of them are on variable because I've got Karina talking about her last trade on variable being at 0.7174. Judson saying he's open on 8 levels on variable for the CAD Swiss.
7-1. That's all the way down. That's way down here.
Way down there. But then I guess that it's probably the level that she has. How many trades have you got open, Karina? Just for interest's sake.
Let's see where my did the Aussie CAD. Let me see where my first trade on my gearbox was. CAD Swiss. My first trade was 72.70. So 72.70 is where I started with this thing.
Okay, Karina's open 8 levels. So she probably has it set to 8, I'm assuming. So it's just going to keep going up and draw down until.
Yeah. I said the biggest thing that the one that I think, well, I'm not sure about variable. I don't think variable has that protector that now Gearbox has 2 levels of protection. One is the equity protector, which is defaulted at 100%, which means it'll blow up your whole account. But it also says after 25% drawdown, I'm going to stop taking trades. So if it stopped taking, if let's say you had a drawdown here, you start here, you got drawdown, higher level drawdown. And let's say here it's where it says, okay, you're at 25% drawdown. It's going to stop taking trades. It's going to go up higher, but these are still going to be in play. It's still going to keep drawing down these. It just won't be adding more positions with higher lot sizes. It'll help slow down the drawdown. But the problem is you still have to find out where it kind of made its peak and then allow it to take another trade right here at the top so that you can start getting the profit of that higher lot size profiting factor faster. But that's all part of the individual's risk tolerance level that you have to be worrying about and playing with. So let's go back
Another thing you can do too on variable is just adjust your take profit so that it gets you out quicker. So depending on if you're going by default take profit, or you put it in yourself, adjust it to so it's something lower, so it gets to that take profit amount quicker.
Yeah, my experience with both of these, between gearbox and variable, using both of them over a period of time, I still find out that if you just let the software work its way through it as best as your tolerance will allow, you're better off, because it does usually eventually dig itself out, but you do take some heat sometimes. And my preference is I usually try to add money into the account. If it's in a major drawdown, I just try to add money into the account to give it that room to be able to retrace rather than take the hit.
Unfortunately, not everyone's got that kind of money.
Well, and that's true. And that's true. I'm able
just
to do
another
that.
way of doing it.
But one thing, what I also do is when I plan my account size, I try and leave at least, if let's say I have $1,000 that I have to trade, I may start it with $500. And that way, if it gets into a 50% drawdown, I have another $500 to be able to add to it. Now, you can only do that so many times with the risk of losing that second $500. But I try and keep some in the off the table, so to speak, so they have a little bit of extra buffer to when you get these drawdowns like this. If you don't have the money, you don't have the money. That's just all you can do. But just adjust your initial investment and initial lot size or initial account size to where you may be able to have a little bit of extra off the table, so that when you do get into these drawdown situations, you have a little bit more to play with to keep the account alive. That's just a technique that there's British Aussie. Let's take a look at that one. That's just that's a money management technique that that I've kind of adapted. And you're right, not everybody can do that. And right now we're in a downtrend into the zone. Let me take these variables off, these fractals off. They get to be a little bit much sometimes. I think they're helpful, but it's whether you, a lot of times I can see the fractals without having the fractal there. So right now we're in a downtrend, and we're hitting right at the zone. Here's the entry. And it is actually probably getting a bounce off the zone. So, but we are in a downtrend. Any other questions?
Not at the moment.
And let's go take a look at some of the other. Let's take a look at some New Zealand trades. It looks like New Zealand's fairly strong too. So let's try like a New Zealand USD, see if that has anything to New Zealand Swiss. No, with that, they're both strong. New Zealand, yeah, let's take a look at that. Let's see, overall strength is basically, it's kind of sideways. It's we just got a new third zone right here. It was 1, 2, 3, 4. Actually, it is building some momentum to the upside. So we'll call this in an uptrend based on this little deal right there. Spread this one out. It is breaking through a moving average. This moving average is up. This one's being broken through. I'd have to see it break through this zone, and then we have lots of room to the upside. You'd have a little bit of a heat right in here. But if we were to take this, now we did get a arrow earlier. Let's see where this is at. Let's see, 77.85. And let's go with 7808. It's already pretty much at the target where the entry would have been. But if we can get this thing to break through this area right in here, and I'll be looking at, it's going to run into a little bit of a heat in this area. I say this might be the best target there. If it breaks through this, if it breaks through this zone, 21 to 37, you only have, you got 15 pips. I would say you'd have to, it would be tight. As everything's just sort of getting set up for Monday. So a little bit of time still, but let's try Euro US, see what that looks like. Euro is a little bit stronger than the USD. Pretty much the same story. A lot of these moves are really happening more in the middle of the night, especially like on Sunday night. Sunday night's a pretty active night. As London opens up on Monday morning, and you see a lot of gapping down last night. Gap down, came back up, filled the gap, keeps on going for a little bit here. So, but here's the zone. Can't take us too close to that. And let's see what else we have. Euro yen. Let's take a look at the euro yen. Now, this just has a little bit of room. I don't know if it's enough though. There's our money zone. Pretty much a little bit of an uptrend, not by a whole lot really. Again, if you'd be taking this trade, you'd be chasing it. It's already, this is one where we had a nice little, it came right up to it. We had a little bit of a bounce right here. It did break through this moving average. And right now it's into this little wick right in here. It may struggle a little bit, but it's hard to say. Some of the trades setups are so clean that there's no question about not to take them. And when they get to be a little bit iffy like this, you could try it, but you're kind of gambling a little bit. Here's the alert. There's 18 pips. So this one could very well go on up to this area to retest this zone. I don't know if it has any much more room to go to the upside. This does 18 pips to the upside. Euro yen. Euro stronger to the yen on all time frames. Let's take a look at that on the under the microscope. Euro yen. This is a 1 hour chart. This is our Friday high right here. This is the range for Friday. And we're getting up into this little wick area right here. So it does seem to be in somewhat of a downtrend for the last couple of days. It did break this low. Friday, 1, 2, 3, 4. So this was last week's range. And this is Monday. So right now we're right in the middle of the weekly range. So there's really no real clear direction right now. I like staying out of that area. So this was see, this is Friday's close. This is Sunday. This is Friday, Thursday, Wednesday, Tuesday, Monday. So this is the range of last week. And if we draw our Fibonacci, our range from the Fibonacci list standpoint, this is your lower 25%. This is your upper 20. I wouldn't do much of anything with this one. I'd probably be looking at this area right in here.
Javier saying the pound yen broke resistance on the 15.
Pound yen. I'm on the 15-minute. Let's see, there's an hourly chart here.
Looks like a bit of a wedge forming there, no?
Well, you got a strong move down. This was Sunday's strong move down. Here's the origin of that. I wouldn't say I broke it yet. Not from what I'm seeing.
Probably on the other, the arrow chart, maybe he's talking about, I'm thinking.
Here's the nice little, here's the origin of this down move is coming right back up into that area. I would be suspicious to think that this is probably, there's some sellers up in this area.
Yeah, he says he saw it on arrow.
See, saw it on arrow?
Yeah, it broke the resistance that was on arrow.
Oh, I see. Yeah, I'd be looking at this area as being a supply zone. So I would be looking at here's a high, lower high, higher low, lower high, higher low. Here's a little wedge right here. It did break through. This is probably what he's talking about. This area right in here. Here's the wedge. Low to high, higher low, lower high. Here's a breakout, and this is, I would call this to be a trap. And if it can break through this point right here, then this is going to be the next target. So here's some target areas. There's a target. And this would be the next target. If you look over here, take a look over here from this top of this wick right here. This is a small little wick. If you come over to the left, you see a body, 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 all the way up here. And actually, here's a little drop. There's a little base drop. This would be another retest zone right up in here. And actually, we could probably call these, rather than call them traps, you could probably call them, this pretty much the same thing. There's a retest. There's a retest. I probably like that a little bit better, more so than a trap. Not a lot of difference between the two. Just this is just, it was a nice little basing here. It came back down, just retested. The trap would be, I feel a trap more a breakout of a wedge, where it breaks out of a wedge and it goes up, fakes you out, and then comes right back down into the wedge. This broke out of the wedge, but now it's coming up to retest this area. just to clarify that just a little bit, is that I would view this as being the trap. Where it breaks the wedge. And you have a little pivot right here. Comes up, breaks it. Now this one did break it through that area. So this trap did not, it wasn't really it didn't really hold. But I would have called this area a little bit of a trap. That's how I determined between the two. This area, or even maybe up to this one, this pivot up here. This would be the trap area. If this pivot, you have this pivot off the wedge where you have the anchor, the hit, break of the wedge, comes back up, tests this, pulls back again, retest the wedge. And now it never really did, it broke it and actually came back in. You see this little candle right here, closed above the wedge. This one right here that I'm looking at, closed above the wedge, came back down, retested the wedge, and then continued up higher. So right now I'm looking at, so this is not, this was wrote, and so now this is the area where I'd be looking at a bounce off of this area in here. And the pound yen, the pound is stronger than the yen, not by a lot, but it is stronger. And that's where it's not, I would expect to see some sellers coming in, driving this thing back down to maybe retest the wedge.
We got a couple of alerts, Sal. There's
Okay.
Euro US. I looked at the pound Aussie. It's not a go. And there's the US yen as well.
Let's take a look at that here. US yen. Yep, no trade there.
Yeah, looks like the Euro US is the same. It's
Pound
right.
Aussie. As I'm perfectly okay not taking any trades on a Monday morning, especially when you're seeing these types of formations. And they're pretty consistent. We're getting the alerts right at a zone. So these zones were developed somewhat overnight or from the last couple of days. And they're just working their way into, what was I looking at? US yen? Pound Aussie, I think I was looking at. Down arrow, down and right into the zone. Euro US. Euro USD. Euros should be stronger on the higher time frames. Euro stronger. We wanted, yeah, so this one could be, looks like we're in an uptrend from this standpoint. Let's see if that holds. Yep, we're in an uptrend. If it can break through this level here, we've got one that's probably going to be a little bit higher. I do kind of like this one if it can break through this red zone here. Looks like we'd have room to the upside from, let's just say we got to break somewhere around in, if we got to close above this area right here, that's 40 pips to the upside. This could be a nice little trade, possibly. While it's above our moving averages, we have we're getting the crossover right here. They're all starting to point up. Rally, could be a little basing, and then come back rally. So here would be the target. I'd be looking up this area. Actually, I kind of like this one. It's not ready to be taken yet, but I do like the setup. That's starting to set up on this one. And this would be, say, around the 1935. 1935. Somewhere right around in there, and a target of right around 1975. And then the stop would be right around the, let's call it 1895, 1.1895. But I'd like to see it close above Well, the highest close we have so far, if we bring this back down a little bit, take a look over to the left. Here's the highest close we have. Well, actually, this one, right? This is it right here. So if we can get a close above here with a pass, come back, check this line, and then come back up. So that's what I'd be looking at before. And if we have the strength to be able to close above this blue line, it may take this zone away, and then you have a free zone coming on up to the top here. So that's one that now keep on your watch list, I would say. Any other questions?
No, we're good over here.
Let's see, we can keep on looking and seeing what else, if there's any other pairs that anybody wants to take a look at, we can take a look at them. I'll go back to this British yen trade that we were looking at. Like I said, if it can break through, we're just going to watch how this thing goes up here, but I'd like to see it come on up, come back, maybe retest the wedge, maybe even retest this this line right here, somewhere where the trap was, and then goes on up to the next retest line. But I think you're probably going to see a significant pullback once it gets up into this area. And right now I'm seeing somewhat of an ascending wedge. It broke through here, came up into our retest area. And right now it has an ascending wedge. So I'd be looking at maybe coming all the way down, retest the bottom of this wedge. And if it breaks, now we have a this is where you could get a trap right down in here. Figure out where this thing comes down, where it's going to break the wedge. Just estimate that, say, roll right around in this area. And here's the trap. If it can break that, then the next point is going to be this area right down here. And if it can break that, then you're going to have to go all the way over to the left of the chart to see where this is going to break through. And this is where it gets to be kind of fun. You just get on the higher time frames and see where it is. And you can see that this is only a 4-hour chart. Strong move up, came back down. Here's that wick. Do you think this price here recognized that a little bit on the way down? And so the buyers came in. Here's where the buyers came in. So keep that one in mind. Now that all the buyers here were all chewed up, and there's still some more buyers probably right down in there. Here's where they came in. This hasn't been tested. Here's the hit. Here's the anchor pretty much. Here's the hit. Pulled back. Go back to our 15-minute chart. Slide this a little bit closer. So right now, this is a range where it's at. I'd be more of a seller up here, buyer down here, seller up here, buyer down here, until it breaks out of these ranges. See how this thing is coming back down, came up here, respected this little zone right in here. The fact it didn't even get up that high makes me think that there's a lot of sellers right up in there, obviously from the strong candle down. This was from Sunday nights. This was Sunday's open right here. It just went right down nonstop for the first 15 minutes. And that's one reason why this is why you don't want to be fighting these zones like this. Let's take a look at that British yen chart on the arrow chart. Came up, couldn't even quite fill it. Here's where the gap was. Now we make a nice little, this could possibly be our, we're the beginning of our W. Came back down, here's the middle of the W, come back down, retest this trend line, and then goes up higher. Look and see where that W is on this one. Let me take this off and show you a harmonic. Here's the first leg, this leg of the W. Middle came back up, retraced 54%, came back down, retested it. And it goes up higher. Now this thing's coming back down to retest it again. You see the W? First leg, left bottom, middle. Now this thing could come over here. Be coming to give us another retest of this area. But right now, the fact I'm looking to see where this from the X to this B area, I like this where it broke this. This thing could keep on going to the upside. See where it broke this trend line, came back down, retested, and now it could just start be trending on up. But I would be looking at this as being the target area right about, which is pretty much right about where that was. There's a little bit higher. Could go up a little bit higher still. I'd be looking at right around there. I like the 86% from the X to the D. I like 86% there. I like the 50%, 50 to 62% to the, if you look and see where, this is right at the 50%, this 50% right here, that's 50% of this AX to B, that's 50% there. Come back down, retest the trend line. May come back down, give us another retest, but it did break this trend right here. Could maybe move this thing over a little bit further. And so right now it's in this no man's land here, but it's come down. I would be a buyer anywhere down in here to come back on up to retest that. I want to see it get down a little bit deeper, see it retest this ABC line.
Now, is there any particular figure that you like on the AC line?
Any number?
Yeah.
As far as the percentage wise goes, actually I do. I kind of like it when it gets down to around the 86 here as well. This is right back into where the trap is. Usually 86 from this is your extremes. X8 is your extreme. And then I was playing inside this. I like seeing where it gets up to within about 86 of the X and within about 86% of the A to the downside. And that's usually a nice little range to where your risk is minimal, because that way, if you can get in around this area and you have your stop under here, your stop is from like this area to, that's like a 21 pip stop there with a target of 54. That's a nice little ratio. The same way from up here, if you take it short up here and your target's down even to the midway, here's the thing is the midpoint, that speed is going to be more like a magnet. You see where it came up, tested, hit it, rejected it, came back, tested it. So this whole area right here in the middle is where the magnet. So usually if I want to take it short up here, I'm not going to go for a whole lot. I may go down to where the B is, if there's enough range. But even that, I don't do a whole lot of that type of thing. I do on occasions if there's other factors that line up. But right now, it's just basically right now it's going inside this range, from this retest area to the trap area and demand area.
Just had a couple of alerts, Al. One on the Euro New Zealand, the other on the Swiss yen.
Okay, thank you. Let's take a look at the Euro New Zealand. Let's see, do I like the Euro New Zealand? Euro. And not as well. And what was the other one? The Swiss yen. Oh, I like Swiss yen better.
We don't see what you're looking at.
Yeah, I know you don't.
Okay.
It's hiding from us.
If everybody had access to it, then I would be more up to. I show a little bit, but not a lot. Still working on the access. Swiss yen. Strong move up. Oof. And we have a break of, this one might be good. And an uptrend, Swiss yen. Do we have 20 pips? I may take this one. Now it didn't bounce off. We have 48 pips to the upside. We have strong move to the Swiss. I'm gonna take this one. Go buy on that one. And the target's going to be, modify 40, 20, boom, there, that's done. This one looks pretty promising, actually. Oops, what happened? This way, actually, maybe I'll go for a little bit higher target, possibly. Well, we have this strong move down, came back down. So yeah, I would probably stick with the 20 pips on this one.
No, Euro New Zealand is not good.
Trying to get my other charts up here.
Herman, is that on a 15-minute chart that you're in a resistance zone? I guess all brokers are different, so don't forget, trade whatever your broker is giving you as far as your charts go. Mine doesn't have a resistance zone in there, and neither does Al's. So keep that in mind when you're looking at your charts.
And that's envy in the core, correct?
Yep.
Sorry?
You have envy, right? And Al has the core.
I have envy.
Yeah.
Yeah. And mine isn't showing a resistance zone either.
Yeah. I went to a 5-minute chart on this Swiss yen, and it's still no zones at all. So it still looks like pretty clear sailing to the target. I said you could use your target all the way up to the top, but I don't like the fact that this little area right in here might have give a little bit of a heat. I'm happy with 20 pips on this one. We go back to the 15-minute chart, which is where we got the arrow. And we'll see what happens. I said the Swiss is showing considerable strength to the yen. That's one reason I'm okay with this trade. First trade of the week.
Al,
And we have about 4 or 5 more minutes. Yes, Christine.
can you switch to the pound New Zealand? Because one of our traders, it had broken the support on the 15 on the arrow.
New Zealand. Okay, so this is where we had the, okay, so we are, let's just take a look at this. We are in a, we're kind of even on the trend. Even on that, so no real clear direction. And here was the entry. Am I on the 15-minute? Yep, make sure I'm on the 15-minute chart. Here's a target. And we're at, right now we're at 93.01 to 92, so it's 50 pips to the downside from where we are right now, I believe. And pound and New Zealand. Pound is weak. New Zealand's gaining some strength. It's not what I would call a clean arrow trade. We did have the bounce, the arrow. We did have a zone right here. So I guess then we did break through that. We're a little bit late onto the party on this one, but it still could maybe work out for you. Let's see, pound New Zealand. Let's take a look at that under the microscope. Pound, this one's working just about the way I suspect it was going to do. Pound New Zealand. Let's see where the target, ultimate target on this one is. We have some zones right below here. There's a nice little wick rejection. Let's move this back over. Let's take a look at this lower time frame. Here's a drop. Here's a little basing drop. Here's our trend line. I can see a little bit more of a pullback on this one. Take a look at on the 15-minute. Here's our 1 minute. Let's take a look at that on the nice little pullback. This has a little bit of room to the downside. I don't know if it's got enough to make it worth my while here. 16 pips. It's a little bit of a stretch. I think we're pretty much already kind of out of the chute on this one. I think it's got possibilities to the downside. I'm going to pass on it, but I think if anybody wants to take it, you wouldn't be too far off the mark doing it. Could be a good little trade, actually. And let's see how one more time before we go here. Take a look at this. What's one? British New Zealand. Swiss yen is what we're looking at here. Swiss yen. We did a buy on that one. We're still looking at it coming back up. So that one's still okay. I'm okay with that one. And let's take a look at it one more time, and then we're going to wrap it up for the day. Swiss yen. A nice little bounce off the 62. And our target somewhere up around the, what's our target on this one? Looks like 87.26, is that right? No, that's not right. Hang on, let me see, make sure we got the right pair here. Swiss yen. What was our entry on that? Entry was at 1763. I still like that for the target. Let's see if it bounces, if it breaks below this moving average, we may want to rethink a little bit. But right now, it's just making some spacing a little bit. So anyway, that's pretty much wraps it up for the day. Thanks everybody for coming in. Any last questions before we go? With that in mind, we will keep your powder dry. Don't take trades just to take them. Have a reason for it. And we'll see everybody tomorrow, same time, 7:30. See you then.